I've already done a couple videos about this fight, but we're getting closer to fight night. It's taking place on May 19th, which is not this weekend, the weekend after. This Adonis Stevenson Badou Jack fight. There was a member of my Facebook boxing group, Hatman Boxing, shout out to him by the way, who said that he would be shocked if Adonis Stevenson won this fight. And he has drawn parallels between this fight and what we saw last weekend between Tony Bellew and David Haye. He believes Stevenson is going to go out just like Haye, and Bellew is going to be playing Badou Jack is going to be playing the Tony Bellew role. Personally, I think we have to take things on a case-by-case basis. I think it's a bit hasty to just look at a guy's age and say, okay, he's this age and he hasn't been fighting great competition. That means he's going to get destroyed in a similar manner to David Haye. Because while there are some similarities between the situations, there are also a hell of a lot of differences. First of all, the similarities, which the individual, I think, is it Ethan? I think it was Ethan in my Facebook boxing group. Shout out to him. Apologies if I'm not getting your name correct off the top of my head. There are so many people in the group. The similarities, he said, are the age, the inactivity, and the fact that Stevenson hasn't been fighting high-level competition, whereas Badou Jack has. Badou Jack is younger, he's been fighting much better opposition, and he's been more active. Those are the similarities. I definitely take those on board. But here are the differences. While Adonis Stevenson hasn't been particularly active the past couple years, he's still been more active than David Haye. David Haye went, what, 3 years without a fight? Or was it longer than that, between when he fought Derek Chisora and when he fought Jurjai? And then when he did fight Jurjai and, Damori, when he did fight Damori and Jurjai, that level of opposition is way below the guys that Adonis Stevenson has been fighting in terms of quality. So Stevenson's opponents haven't been amazing the past 2 years, but they've been way better than David Haye's quality of opposition. Don't get that twisted for a second. And as I say, Stevenson never had a 3-year gap or a 2-year gap, whatever it was, where he wasn't fighting. He's had at least 1 or 2 fights a year for the past couple years. There's also the fact that Stevenson, despite the fact he's a couple years older than Haye, he's 40 rather than 37, Stevenson hasn't been riddled with injuries. He's been relatively injury-free, Adonis Stevenson, unlike David Haye. So he's not as damaged goods as David Haye was against Bellew. Stevenson here against Badou Jack. No way is he as damaged. And on top of that, Stevenson is a much, much better technical fighter than David Haye. He's more elusive. He's more polished in his moves and his style. Stevenson has a style which will age better than David Haye's style. I mean, evident by the fact that he's 40 years old and still a world champion. Clearly, his style has aged better than David Haye's style. Now, Stevenson does, to a large degree, rely on movement, and movement definitely will diminish. Your ability to move well will diminish as you get older. But Stevenson's not a guy who lunges the way that David Haye lunges. Even a prime David Haye, if you watch him when he fought John Ruiz, after the knockdown in the first round, David Haye was lunging in with all kind of punches, and whenever he would lunge in, he would leave himself badly off balance. He also did it against Bellew when he would lunge in with big punches and leave himself off balance. It was a common mistake that David Haye made over and over and over and over again, is his balance was poor. He would leap in with shots, leave himself off balance, and very often, because he's off balance, he's either vulnerable to getting countered, and also, or he can't come back with any punches of his own because you don't have his legs under him. Stevenson's not like that. Stevenson has much better balance than a David Haye. If you watch Stevenson, and even in his last fight against Fonfara, in the first round, he misses his left hand a couple times, but he doesn't fall off balance when he misses. So he's got much better balance. He's a much better technical fighter than David Haye. So, you know, while the member of my Facebook boxing group said he would be shocked if Stevenson beat Badou Jack, I would definitely not be shocked. That will definitely not shock me if Stevenson beats Badou Jack. It wouldn't shock me if either man won the fight. I'm kind of on the fence about it. I've been back and forth. Some days I'm thinking Jack, other days I'm thinking Stevenson. I'm back and forth about it for some of the reasons I've just mentioned and also the reasons I'm about to mention. Badou Jack has never faced a puncher remotely close to the level of an Adonis Stevenson. Not even remotely close. He's never been in a professional boxing ring with a guy who hits anywhere near as hard as Stevenson. Furthermore, he's never been in a professional boxing ring with a guy who's as good a long-range boxer as Stevenson. Yeah, you name me the guy who's as good on the back foot, moving around the ring and fighting at long range that Badou Jack has fought as Adonis Stevenson. I'm telling you, James the Gale was not as good at long range as Stevenson is. Lucian Bute is not as good at long range as Stevenson is. George Groves is probably the best long range guy that Badou Jack has fought. But even George Groves, I don't think is as good on the back foot. At least not as good as a prime Stevenson. We don't have a prime Stevenson anymore. His feet have slowed up. That's what I will say. So, yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if either man won. The keys to victory in this fight for me are Badou Jack surviving the first 3 or 4 rounds without being intimidated, without taking too much damage and without being intimidated. If he can survive the first 3 or 4 rounds without taking a lot of damage or being intimidated, then he has a very, very good chance of winning a fight and even winning a fight by knockout. Adonis Stevenson, in his fight a couple fights back against Thomas Williams Jr., he came out doing the usual Stevenson thing of moving around the ring. But Thomas Williams Jr. was walking him down. And after about 2 rounds of moving around the ring, Stevenson started getting caught by Williams Jr. And at that point, Stevenson abandoned the back foot game and he decided to trade with Williams Jr. on the inside. And ultimately, Stevenson came off better trading on the inside with Williams Jr. because Stevenson can fight on the inside when he has to. He showed it in the late rounds in the first Fonfara fight and he showed it against Williams Jr. a couple fights ago. So, but the thing to be noted is the fact that Stevenson couldn't keep up his movement for longer than 2 or 3 rounds against Williams Jr. And you have to imagine that Badou Jack is a better pressure fighter than Williams Jr. And if he can force Stevenson into the pocket and prevent him from moving around, then you have to imagine Badou Jack will be able to do it. Yeah, if Williams Jr. could do it, Badou Jack will be able to do it. Here's the issue for Badou Jack. Jack can be a slow starter. He was knocked out early on in his career by Derek Edwards in 1 round. He was dropped in the first round by James the Gale. And in many of his fights, in the Bute fight and several fights, Badou Jack tends to start slow. Even when he stopped Nathan Cleverly in the first round, Badou Jack wasn't really doing much. So he's a guy who likes to have a look at you in the first round. And once he's had a look at you, he plans his point of entry and then he starts stalking you. Then he starts turning up the temperature and applying the pressure. That's how Badou Jack tends to fight. And because of this, and because of the fact that Stevenson is a fast starter, the early rounds are going to be very dangerous for Badou Jack. Yeah. Stevenson, I don't have his record up on BoxRec right now. I'm just going to go off the top of my head. But Stevenson has knocked a lot of guys out in the first couple rounds. And the guys who he hasn't knocked out in the first 2 or 3 rounds, he's hurt or dropped many of them. All right. Off the top of my head, he obviously knocked out Chad Dawson in one round. He hurt Tavoris Cloud in the first round. I remember that clearly. He didn't actually hurt or drop Bellew in the first couple rounds because Bellew was being very defensive and moving away. Perhaps that's what Badou Jack is going to try and do, all right, for the first few rounds. So he didn't manage to drop Bellew, but then there were other guys like Karpensi. I can't remember how long that fight went, but he got rid of Karpensi fairly early. Sokotsky, he got rid of him in, what was that, 3 or 4 rounds or something like that, Sokotsky. He dropped Fonfara early in the first fight. I think he dropped him in the first round in the first fight. In the rematch, he hurt Fonfara in the first round. Did he drop him in the first round too? I think he dropped him in the first round and stopped him in the second, didn't he? And that was his last fight. So Stevenson has a history of starting fast and being very, very sharp with a left hand early. Even up until his last fight against Fonfara, the rematch. He still starts fast. He's still accurate with the left hand. He still carries power on it. And with a slow start in Badou Jack, he's going to have to be very, very careful not to get tagged by that punch. Yeah, this is not one of those wild David Haye haymakers. This is a much more accurate, precise punch. Stevenson is not into wasting shots the way that a David Haye is. He's not into lunging in like a David Haye. Stevenson keeps his balance, throws the left hand straight. He don't throw it in an arcing fashion. He don't throw his whole body forward when he throws the punch. He's refined his technique to whereby he can throw the left hand and most of the time he can get out of the way without being countered. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the tactics of Badou Jack in the early rounds. Whether he will move around and try and stay away from Stevenson and maybe try and draw Stevenson's sting a little bit. That might actually be prudent because Stevenson quite likes when a guy is boxing with him in the center of the ring or when a guy is coming at him. Yeah? Now, he likes when a guy is coming at him when the guy is not coming at him too fast. All right? When a guy starts coming at him really fast and applying intense pressure, Stevenson does get uncomfortable. But when the guy's just coming at him, plodding forward, Stevenson loves it. Or when a guy's boxing with him in the middle of the ring like a Chad Dawson or a Karpensi, Stevenson loves it. But if you're applying intense pressure on him, he don't like it. And also when Stevenson has to go looking for you, earlier on in his career, he didn't mind. But now at 40 years old, Stevenson doesn't really want to have to go looking for you. He's going to have to expend energy tracking you down, and he's going to have to worry about you countering him on the back foot. So that could work to Badou Jack's advantage if he draws Stevenson's sting early on, makes Stevenson come at him. Again, he still have to be careful even doing that. You know, Stevenson can lead off, but he prefers to counter. That's one thing about Stevenson. He will lead off with the left, but he prefers to counter. And yeah, for me, the first 3-4 rounds are going to be crucial. I think the fight is going to be won or lost in the first 3-4 rounds. If Badou Jack has survived the first 3 or 4 rounds without being hurt, without being damaged or intimidated, then he's probably going to win the fight. Yeah? If Stevenson can't intimidate him or damage him early, Badou Jack's probably going to win. But it's a big if, because Stevenson is dangerous in them early rounds. Still now at 40, dangerous. Believe you me. So I'm interested to see the kind of strategy that Badou Jack comes up with to diffuse or attempt to diffuse Adonis Stevenson early. It's going to be a fascinating fight. Very much looking forward to it. I'm still on the fence. I've been leaning towards Stevenson the past couple of weeks, but I don't know. I don't know, man. His age, definitely the fact that he doesn't move as well as he used to. He can't move around the ring for 12 rounds, I don't think, anymore. He doesn't have the legs to do it for that long. He can move around for a couple rounds, but for 12 rounds, I don't think so. And when Badou Jack turns up the heat in the second half of the fight, if Stevenson's still there by then, I think he's going to find it very, very tough. So, yeah, let me know what you feel in the comment section below, people. It's happening. I'm out.